מזמור לדוד. אדוני אלוהי לא יחסר, בנו דשא יביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא ירערם, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת ושמר ראשי, כוסי רוויה. טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבת בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
As Cantor Schiffman began our service chanting Psalm 23 in the Hebrew, please join me in the English. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Today we gather to share words of praise, of honor, of thanks, and of love, as we recall with great affection Eunice Benchell, a beloved mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, wife, sister, aunt, great-aunt, cousin, and friend. And though it's difficult to say goodbye to such a remarkable woman, today is a celebration of a life well lived. For a truly wonderful woman, Uni was one of a kind, the matriarch of this family, and also of our synagogue, the one that we all treasured as a friend, for she cultivated friendships, and she spread so much love to all. We extend our deepest condolences to the entire family, for Uni has departed from this world, leaving a good name, returning home in peace, and returning to our beloved Ernie. We send our heartfelt condolences to her family, to Eunice's children, to Lynn and Marvin, to Nancy and Jeffrey, to Neil and Jill, and to the apples of her eye, her grandchildren, to Benjamin and Denise, to Alex, to Eli, to Cassie and Chad, to Joey and Julie, to Emma and Yvonne, and to Naomi, and to the diamond in her crown, her great-grandchild Zeta, to nieces and nephews, extended family and friends, we send our condolences. Eunice now rejoins her beloved husband Ernie, who was her best friend, her partner in all things, married for more than 66 years. She joins her brother Richard and Lenore, and Ernie's siblings Evelyn and Irv, Edith, Maurice and Irv, Natalie and Sanford, her parents Julia and Leon, and all those who have gone before in their eternal home. We read in our Bible, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for planting and a time for reaping, a time for keeping and a time for discarding, a time for embracing and a time for refraining, a time for laughing and a time for weeping, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing, a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. Our beloved Eunice would always say this: put your right foot forward. Regardless of the moment, the world, life circumstances, it was her mantra, put your right foot forward. Her saying guided all that she did and all that she was, for Eunice always put her right foot forward in everything that she did. She was our role model, our guide, our voice of reason, the matriarch of your family and of our congregation, B'nai Yeshurun, always exemplifying class, grace, and sweetness, down to earth and approachable. Throughout her life, she exuded warmth and kindness, incredibly respected and appreciated. She lived with so much joy, and her cup was full. Eunice may have been short in stature, but she was a giant for all of us, and we all truly looked up to her, admired her. She could be feisty, she could be tough, and maybe even stubborn. She had an inner strength, a will, a determination, which she most especially relied upon in the years following Ernie's passing. She had a big circle of family and friends that kept growing throughout the years. So close with her cousins, Eunice had an incredible ability to keep long-lasting friendships that dated back to kindergarten. And even at age 70, 80, and in her 90s, she had the ability to make new friendships, even with those younger, and welcome them into her circle. And you were usually blessed with a birthday card, an anniversary card, a phone call, and if you lived in town, you got a dinner with her. A lifelong learner, Eunice received an honorary degree from the College of Jewish Studies. In fact, Erica and I really got to know them from the first time on our second visit to Cleveland when they chaired the Benny Bash for the college. Extremely generous, Eunice believed in sharing what she had, and even left a pile of checks with donations on her desk that went out in the mail the day after she died. A few more mitzvahs to add to her resume of a life guided by kindness and care, always supporting others, the community, sharing her portion, and lifting up those around her. Eunice always told you what she thought. She was opinionated. She didn't hold back. In fact, even on my interview weekend, my wife Erica told me that she was sitting in the congregation right behind Ernie and Eunice, as when I got up for my tryout sermon, Eunice loudly turned to Ernie and whispered, well, it wasn't a whisper, she said, "Who's that bar mitzvah boy?" Eunice was funny, she could be snarky, always very clear about setting goals and expectations, and if you visited, you had an expectation of the number of days you would stay over at her place, or else she would announce it was time to go to a hotel. She was wise, a confidant to many. We all sought out her advice, her counsel, and guidance. Born and raised here in Cleveland Heights, one of her claims to fame is that her first boyfriend was Joel Gray. She was called Sissy back then, and he knew that as her nickname, but he also gave her another nickname, Puny Eunice. And one time she was sitting in the front row of a Joel Gray show, and he actually referenced her, and in the middle of the show, Eunice stood up and said, "That's me." She got a backstage pass, and they spent some great time recollecting together. During school, she helped out at her father's dry goods store, the Beachland department store. After graduating Heights High, Eunice started at The Ohio State in Columbus, but she left after one semester because someone in Cleveland already had her heart. Set up on a blind date while in high school, Ernie and Eunice were instantly an item. They met, and the rest is history. They adored each other. They were madly in love from the beginning and for more than 66 years of marriage. Married on April 1st, 1951, with Rabbi Rosenthal and Cantor Meisels. Ernie was 5'10" and a half. Eunice was 4'10". They were a foot in difference in height, but they were always in step, in sync. Their own best friends who respected each other. They supported each other. Were the most amazing pair. They were inseparable, an incredible role model for their children and grandchildren of a loving marriage, how to support your spouse and still have your own life goals, how to have a true partnership. Together they traveled, they loved the arts, collected art and glass, began relationships with some of their favorite artists and dealers, including David Sharir in Israel, of which they gifted a series of his pieces to our synagogue on the Jewish holidays. Lynn, Nancy, and Neil, you shared with me that you grew up in a happy, wonderful home where there was always laughter, wit, chocolate, and pastry, with a mom who was always there for you, incredibly supportive, always making a point to be home for you when school was over, a comforting, stable presence, reassuring, always making sure you were fed, taken care of, and everything that you needed to succeed. Neil, you shared that in the 5th grade you were diagnosed with dyslexia. This was in a different age when learning differences and disabilities were not very understood. You told me that you got as far as you have in life because of all that your mother did. She was your biggest advocate, support, and always there and fought for all of her kids. And when you found your bus shirts, your spouses, Marvin, Jeffrey, and Jill, they each received a handmade knit sweater by your mom, by Eunice. And Jill recalled as Eunice gave her that sweater, she said, "This relationship better be serious and stick, because the yarn I had to use was really difficult and took a very long time to make." Joe, you recalled that first visit to Neil's parents' home. Eunice was an amazing cook, and she made a whole spread for you, which you devoured. You were a hungry college student. You didn't have a lot. In fact, you told me you didn't eat the entire day, and you saved it all and had an incredible meal. And you told me just the home that Eunice kept was so incredible. Marvin, you shared that Eunice was a great friend to you. You'd go to the Pops together. She took you to the ballet. You'd discuss politics and history. She was your advisor on work and business. And you were considering at some point opening your own store, and she offered to be your first employee if you did ever open it. An amazing grandma, Bubby, and Grammy Yoon. She loved being with all the grandchildren. She kvelled when you were together. She proudly told us all about you. Trust me, I've heard a lot about you. And you each got a handmade sweater. She taught you so many life skills. She took the time to teach each of you how to knit. She made each of you feel so special. She took each of you on a special trip, a trip with your grandparents for your 10th birthday, passing on a tradition started by her own grandmother who she lived with while growing up. Each trip was something specially chosen for your interest at the time. For example, if you liked baseball, it was a special baseball stadium trip, as just one example. You shared how you loved the family card game Popeye, always loud and competitive, how Grandma Eunice would stand over you and tell you what you should do next. You loved the way her legs would kick in happiness when she ate Goo Goo Clusters. As you were growing up, you would always do a height chart measurement against your 4'10" grandmother, measuring as you continue to grow. And though you may have surpassed her in height, you said, we can never measure up to her. Or that now you may tower over her in height, she is the footstep for your generation. As you're now adults, your relationship evolved and grew even deeper. Your calls and visits lifted her up so much, and she loved her weekly Tuesday night dinners with Cassie that you shared for the last 7 years. How incredible. An amazing cook and baker, using her own family recipes and finding others. She even took gourmet cooking classes from the Plain Dealer food reporter Kathy Fliegler. Her brisket was the best in the world, I'm told. Has anyone ever had her brisket? Would you agree? Yeah, the best in the world. Fried chicken and potato latkes were crowd pleasers. Cheese pie, lemon bars, chocolate chip meringue squares to die for, her spaghetti sauce, and the B'nai Yeshurun Sisterhood presidential tuna fish recipe all became family staples. Her recipes handed down from generation to generation. Even Marvin got in on it. You made your mother-in-law Eunice's latke recipe to win our synagogue's first latke cook-off competition. With Ernie, together they shared a pickle business, the famous E&E pickles. And the last few years, Uni kept up the production by telling different family members, even those that lived out of town, this is the date you will come to Cleveland and you will be at the house to begin the pickle production. She'd hand you each the family recipe card with the pickle recipe. She was a great cooking coach, teaching you how to make all those family specialties. She loved sharing knowledge and teaching her children and grandchildren a new skill. She loved her home in Pepper Pike, especially the glass room, the backyard. And with Ernie's passing, she relished her independence. She was so strong, and as she faced her own health challenges and falls, she refused to leave her home. She did stop driving except for the weekly trip to the beauty shop. And we are also honored that Ernie and Eunice made B'nai Yeshurun their second home. Ernie was a revered past president, a respected leader and advisor, and Uni was just the same, our matriarch. From their days leading YPC to Eunice's leadership as our sisterhood president, and their incredible gifts to our congregation, including dedicating the Benchell balcony in our Moskowitz sanctuary. Uni created our college outreach program years ago, and worked tirelessly supporting and growing our congregation and sisterhood, giving her all, a sought-out leader, advisor, and friend, there every single Shabbat, and many more days a week as well. Throughout their years, Uni and Ernie took it upon themselves to reach out to younger congregants, couples, and families in the synagogue, inviting them over to their home, taking them out to dinner, building lifelong friendships. How incredible that every leader in our synagogue should do that. And Uni's loss means so much more to all of us because we all truly loved Uni. An amazing aunt, the favorite aunt, I'm told. Is that true? She cared about you, she listened to you, she leaned in and wanted to be a part of your life. A special friend to so many, Uni had her lunch group, the Minis, friends from elementary school and high school, friends from synagogue. She had all these different lunch groups. She was a big Cleveland sports fan. She loved her sweets, her chocolates, always a bowl of candy or chocolate. A plate of pastries was always out. She'd say, if you eat while you're standing over the sink, you don't gain any calories, for the calories just go down and out your feet. She loved her computer games and was so excited when she received as a gift for her 80th birthday a computer. Always well-dressed, she had her style, and when Ernie and Uni would travel, they took a lot of bags with them for all their outfits. Nancy and Jeff, you invited them to South Haven for 4 days, and you were surprised because when your parents came, they brought one bag, and another bag of clothes, and another bag of clothes, and another bag of clothes. They kept coming, and they had pre-packed them more than a week in advance. Had Uni been born in a different time, a different generation, she likely would have been a successful entrepreneur, a business leader, or pursued a career in education. But all the same, Uni had an incredible life. She taught us. She taught us all. She was our advisor. She would often tell her granddaughter, Cassie, I want these 2 words on my headstone. I tried. And then we had a discussion as we gathered as a family yesterday that doesn't seem just right because Uni didn't just try. She showed us the way. She led the way to always put our right foot forward. Thank you, Eunice, for living the right way, with integrity, with joy, with love and compassion. We know now that you have your wish. You are reunited with your love, Ernie, together again. May Eunice's name always bring blessings, and we say, Amen. We'll rise now as Cantor Schiffman leads us in the memorial prayer.
El male rachamim shochei b'meramim hametzei menucha nechanatachat כנפי השכינם במלאות הקדושים הטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים נשמת אסתר רבקה בת יהודה אהרון ויהודית שהלכה לעולמם בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם אנם בעל רחמים הסתיריה בסתר כנפיכם לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום ותנוח בשלום על משכבם ותנוח בשלום על משכבם ונאמר Amen.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of our beloved Eunice Ruth Benchnell, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May she merit the reward for living life the right way, with kindness, with righteousness, and with love. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life, and may she rest in peace. And we say, Amen. Please be seated. Following the service, interment will take place at B'nai Yeshurun's Chesterland Memorial Park, and then family will be receiving friends at the Benchell residence, 3474 Kursdale Road in Pepper Pike. Today, following burial until 8 p.m., and we'll hold an evening minyan at 7 p.m. tonight. Friday from 1 to 4, Saturday after Shabbos from 7 to 9, and Sunday from 1 to 4. Those who wish may contribute to the Eunice and Ernest Benchell Endowment Fund at B'nai Yeshurun Congregation or the Greater Cleveland Food Bank.
I'll ask those who are all there to step forward at the time. Catholic